What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the podcast. Gabe Yanez and I, we are on to riff. Look at those muscles. We're on to riff about the police academy experience that I had. And dude, I got to kick it off like this, though. We were talking about the World Cup, which we will get into a little bit. I've actually been really excited. Ashley's been super excited about it. I was at the airport yesterday. Dude, the place was going nuts. And the two teams, I don't even know what countries they were. I doubt anybody in the area were even from those countries. But it's just like, dude, something about the World Cup is really special. But I got to tell you about something, Gabe. So yesterday I'm at this military base working with CBP, SRT. And bro, they took me to this place and they had a makeshift city that wasn't just like, oh, like a little building here, a little building there. They had a church, they had a bank, they had this like legit setup, and they had a full underground BART system, dude. Could you? I mean, it blew my mind.
Where was this?
It was in Virginia, AP Hill, dude. They had a full. So I guess they took these BARTs from New York, and they built an underground, like a legit BART station, and they have underground tunnels. So that this way, if people have to like ever. I mean, it makes sense, right? Like if you're going to ever have to go into a BART station and perform some type of like, law enforcement activity or military activity, you got to have a place to train for it. But anyways, that was what my day was yesterday. It blew my mind. So good morning.
Okay. And by BART, you mean like a subway train?
Yeah. Well, whatever. Metro? Is that, what do they call it in New York?
Because the BART, I have to look it up, but the BART is Bay Area Rapid Transit. It's just because it's like your version of a subway system that you know.
Yeah.
But okay, so yeah, like they have trains underground is what you mean.
Yeah, like a full like subway, right? Like you walk down the stairs. They had the full like everything.
That's pretty wild.
You could use
that's pretty wild.
That's pretty wild, right? Like,
and like whenever stuff like that, like military stuff comes, that like obviously you have access to more than most because you're going into these places to train. But you ever just think about like, what do you think is some of the stuff we don't know?
Oh, bro.
Like, what do you think some of these like underground bunkers that they've built? Like, can you imagine the stuff that like actually probably most likely exists out there that like, is like super, super top secret? Insane.
Dude, I honestly, so after my experience at this location, right? And I've seen some like cool stuff, but dude, it was a makeshift. I'll have to send you a picture of it. Like it was a legit city. They made a legit city. And it just goes to show that like, yeah, if that's what we see, imagine all the crazy stuff that's like in bunkers in the middle of a mountain that only like Delta and some other people get access to, or like or even on another level, like CIA agents that like, yeah. Anyways, it got me thinking. So I thought you'd get a kick out of that. Dude, so how's everything been with you? I just finished the academy, which I want to talk about, but how's everything been with you?
I have some questions. I'm excited to hear about it. I know it's something
we've been talking about it for a while, right?
So I guess taking a step back, the first thing I'm curious about is like, so I know that in the past you've always been super involved with law enforcement, fitness, grappling, like all of that good stuff. And we've talked about, back when I was regularly on the podcast, just the importance of obviously for law enforcement to have those skills, how it was missing, how like fitness standards for so much law enforcement have to keep getting lower and lower because these guys just aren't fit. So what changes now that you're a reserve, if anything, and essentially why did you do it in the first place? Like, do you have different access now to like help them with the stuff that you were going to help them before? Like, what was kind of the motivation to do it in the first place? Because I know it was a big undertaking.
Yeah, that was a question I was asking myself as I was going through it. Like,
why am I doing this?
Yeah, and I actually paid for it. So I self-sponsored. So I probably spent over $1,000 to put myself through a reserve academy.
Is that like a tuition? Is that kind of how that works?
Tuition. Yeah, and it gets compensated also by the state. So it's probably a lot more. I mean, on our class, they definitely lost money. I mean, I spent $1,000 just in ammunition at the range. I mean, so yeah, they lost money on me on this one. But I think to answer your question directly, you and I have talked about this for years, right? With law enforcement and with just the need for them to have the physical capability to be able to perform tasks. And it's been a big passion of mine. And obviously, I think my background suits itself well to help this audience. And getting the reserve, I think what it does is it validates my position a little bit more. I think it'll open more doors up. It allows for like a little less liability because I use a lot of resources and I train the departments a lot, but now I could do it a little bit more legally so that this way I could actually run the class and not just have to be like a guest instructor. I think from like a liability perspective, probably like, makes it cleaner. And yeah, I just feel like I kind of became part. I haven't gotten sworn in yet, but like I feel like I'm just becoming part of the brotherhood, and it allowed me to go through the process to see what it was like, so I could speak to it in a more like in a better way. So my academy was um, a very condensed version. So in the state of California, they have the typical academy is about 6 months. Then you go to what they call FTO, which is field training something, a field training officer, I don't FTO. And you go there for a few months. And then at that point, you either become full-time law enforcement or you actually get kicked out. So some of the guys in my academy had failed out of FTO and they were doing this so that they could then get different types of jobs, which was interesting.
Fail out physically?
No, like,
Just anything?
they're too reactive.
Mm,
They didn't have good safety, like whatever, right? Like whatever it is. So anyways, in my case, my class was like 7 a.m. We lined up at like we got to attention. We were like in the foyer, and then we were done around 5
how
Monday
big is
through
the
Friday.
class?
We had 15. We dropped so one guy, it just the vibes were off for this guy. And so we had 16, we had 15 total. And yeah, it was a month long. So it was 4 weeks. And dude, it was a lot, man. It was a bigger commitment than I had anticipated. I because I still have full-time job commitments, I still had full family commitments, and I sacrificed that, and it was more than I expected, but I'm glad I'm done with it. Let's put it that way. So,
Glad you did it.
yeah, I am. I think I'll be more glad probably like months or years from now when I
Mhm.
look back on like what doors that opened and how I can make a
Sure.
bigger impact. Like it did change my perspective on things. Like I'll give you an example. Like the discipline required was interesting for me to see, um, and to be a part of. I did learn a lot more when it comes to first aid, so I feel much more comfortable with first
Mhm.
aid for my family, which that in itself is like a huge blessing, right? Like understanding when to use a tourniquet, to use pressure dressing, to use a chest seal, and looking at the respiratory system, like that was cool. But dude, I gotta tell you about the final day. So
Before we get to that, because you brought it up and I read your email, I'm super curious, man, because I know you. I've known you for many years, and your email about what was it? Just not being like clean shaven, right? Like
oh
one of
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
days. And I'm sure that that's one of the many examples of like the discipline and like, with law enforcement and military, the argument is always that there has to be this attention to detail that, like, on the face of it, might not seem like, well, what's the point? Like, why does it need to be completely clean shaven? Why, like, does your shoes have to be shined every day? Whatever. But the argument is always that, like, if you don't pay attention to detail, like, that's just the level of awareness that you need to have and care. And like, all these things build the type of people that you want in these positions. So you mentioned that it was interesting. I'm curious, to dive a little bit more, like, was that like a big, because I mean, you haven't experienced a lot, neither have I, obviously, but that's definitely different when you've been used to being an entrepreneur for years. And like, it's kind of like, you don't have someone holding you to like these very specific rules that also, are kind of like, nitpicky, right? So how was that? I'm really
Well,
curious.
so yeah, I mean, dude, it was a huge culture shock for me, right? I mean, dude, think about it. So I'm 40, okay? I started a company at 21. So, I mean, dude, for 20 years, I've just been doing what we're doing. And here you are, you're in formation. And I mean, day one, I don't think they got the memo that we're like a level 3 academy. And so day
What does that
one,
mean?
dude, I don't know if they were just messing with us, but
What does level 3 academy mean though?
so in California, so I should have clarified this. So a typical academy, 6 months long, and then you go into field training. There
Okay.
another way that you can go around it, which not many people do, is you could go level 3, level
Hmm.
2, level 1, which then if you do 3, 2, 1 over the span of, let's just say, a year, 2 years, whatever, you technically have completed a full police academy,
Got it.
and you become post certified to go get hired with a place. My current credential is that I can only get hired as a reserve or even as an whatever, but I have to be attached to another officer. So like I don't have the same rights in the sense like
Got it.
you know what I'm saying? Like I went through similar training, just not to the extent. So I can't like go patrol by myself. Let's put it that way, which I'll never patrol, but nonetheless. So, dude, we're at this. We're at day one. I mean, Gabe, I wish you could have been there, dude. I wish you could have been there. There was 15 of us, 16 of us. We're in the middle of this like courtyard, and dude, they pull us out there, and we're standing at attention, and they start ripping us, dude, ripping us. This is day one. They're having us do PT, right? We're trying to do jumping jacks, and we're trying to do 10 in a row, and it was dude, it was like something out of that movie Police Academy, you know, like that old school movie,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
we just couldn't get it. Like 1, 2, 1, 2, and dude, these instructors just were ripping us one at a time. They were pulling us aside, holding a squat, whatever. And the stuff they say, like it's funny. Like he goes up to this one guy who's wearing sunglasses. He's like, "What do you think you are, Maverick?" You know, like from Top Gun. And I'm sitting there, I'm trying not to laugh because you know you don't want to get in trouble. He comes over to me, and my sleeves were kind of pulled up. He's like, "Hey, you macho man, pull those sleeves down." They're like, anyways, so they're ripping on us, right? Just grinding us. And then after that, it never happened again. It was like it was only on day one. They ripped us. And I don't know if they wanted to see who came back or whatever it was, but it was at that moment I'm like, dude, this is a huge culture shock for me. But after that, they never did that again. It was. But back to your question about the memo. So when you line up in formation, they go and they do sometimes like a spot check of your uniform. And I had never done this before, right? So you have to shine your boots. You have to like blouse your pants, which basically means like you essentially put like a rubber band around the bottom of your pants so it comes down to a tapered look instead of being like thick. Uh, you got to have your belt on. You got to have, you know, whatever, clean shaven is a part of it. So he comes up to me and I had shaved the night before, but I had like a 5 o'clock shadow. And he's like, "Oh, did you shave this morning?" I said, "You know, no, sir." You know, obviously he knew I didn't. He's like, "All right, that's a memo." So I had to write a 250 word memo in all caps, handwritten, exactly 250 words on why not shaving, you know, hurt me in the academy. And essentially what I came down to is like this level of discipline is what's required of the job. And the biggest thing is pre-planning the day before. So going into like for the rest of my life, one of my takeaways from the academy will be if you want to be successful the day after, you have to set yourself up the night before. And that goes in like nutrition, like you and I talk about, but also like the night before, I would lay out everything. My vest, like I would wear a bulletproof vest, my shirt, my pants, and I'd have it all laid out because what would happen is I'd go to jujitsu in the morning, I would train in the morning, and I didn't have it as much time. Like I didn't want to have to like think about it. I knew it was already prepped. So that along with shaving was like good learning lesson for me.
I think it's one of those things where it's a slippery slope in some ways, right? Like that's kind of the argument that they make about that stuff always is like, as soon as you start lowering the standards in the small things, then the next thing is like, oh, well, does that really make a difference? Then it's like, does that really make a difference? And then it could be something that literally makes a difference
Yeah.
in, you know, a combat setting or, you know, a law enforcement setting. You know, you forgot to check your equipment, you forgot to check this, you forgot to check that, like whatever. And so it almost like, it's like you're creating a hedge against ever missing the standard on the very important things because you're so meticulous about even the small things that like, of course, the important things would never be missed. It's kind of like the argument,
Yeah.
I, I would just share that like I have a new level of appreciation now, and you'll appreciate this as well. Being, you know, running your own business now, there's no one to hold you accountable to the things that you're responsible to do. Like I know what I have to get done every week to move the business forward. Like I know it's pretty black and white at this point. Like I need to post online, I need to reach out, I need to follow up, I need to be really good with my clients, so on and so forth. And some of those things, like obviously I have to do, like I can't miss the calls with my clients. There's someone holding me accountable. But for like the sending out the email that I mean to send out, or like making the post, or like doing this, the thing that like easily I could be like, nah, you know, no one's gonna know. It's so, dude, it's hard, man. And
It
it's one
is.
of those things where setting your own standard and then you upholding your own standard without like, no one would know if the thing that I said, hey, today I'm going to send a very specific marketing email. If I don't do it, no one would know.
Dude, it's so
So
interesting
hard,
you
man.
bring that up because I mean, that's in entrepreneurship for sure. It's also like, I mean, kind of in parenting, right? Like, I mean, yeah, of course, like, you know
100%.
what I mean? Like, of course, you're
100%.
your spouse, whatever, but like, no one would know. Like, hey, did you spend the appropriate time? Did you engage? Did you do this? Like, only you can like really know, right? And like, you bring up a really good example with entrepreneurship because to your point, because you are the owner of, high end individual coaching, which by the way, if you're interested in high end individual coaching, Gabe is your guy. No one's holding your hand, right? Like, dude, if you don't email 10 clients today, or if you don't do whatever, like, it's ultimately up to you. And I think what the academy has showed me is that, like, you have to prepare. Otherwise, you're going to fail. And when I had failures, it's when I failed to prepare the night before and I was being reactive, right? Because you and I talked about this going into the academy. My training, certain things took a little bit of a back seat, but not really. I just got up earlier. I really was locked in. But there was times where I'm kind of like running around. And if I didn't prepare the night before, like getting my meal ready, like I haven't, dude, when's the last time you packed a lunch? Like never,
That's
right?
right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, I packed a lunch going to school because you couldn't leave the academy, right? Like once you're on the academy grounds, you can't leave. And so, I mean, that was weird, like getting my meals ready in the morning. So back to what you're saying, like if we don't do it, there's no one there's no one holding you accountable. And then at the academy, you're gonna get reamed if you don't do it.
What was the other one that you had? You were
The focus one?
jogging.
Yeah. So
What was
this
that
one's
one?
really interesting. I'm curious, your perspective on this. It's so here's the story, and I've told this to a few. There's nuance in everything, but here's my story. So at our academy, you have to run from anywhere to anywhere. Like once you hit the concrete of the academy, you have to run. There is no walking allowed. You can't carry things in your right hand because that's your gun hand. Like if you're left-handed, then you can't do it in your left-handed. And when you see someone who's not a recruit, clearly, like let's just say I saw you and I was running, I would have to stop, come to a state of attention, and greet you. Good morning. Right now, it's to you like good afternoon, sir, and then you would acknowledge me, and then I would continue to run. Right? That's like the rules. And if there's a group of people, then you acknowledge, good afternoon. You try to address them based on like who's there. Well, this one time I'm running from essentially my car, right, to to the classroom, and I see this guy, clearly not a recruit. He's a TO, a training officer. And I see him. I slow down my run. I say, "Good morning, sir." And I keep running. And I don't really think much of it. I'm like, dude, I said good morning. I addressed him. He's like, "Hey, cadet." He's like, next time.
In the moment, did
Yeah.
you forget? Did you like, not a big deal? Like, I'm curious
Well,
because you were obviously aware.
it's kind of like I felt like it was unnecessary, right? Like,
Mm,
dude,
mm.
I'm addressing him. I don't need to stop and address him. Like, I have places to go. Like, let me slow down, look him in the eye. Good morning, sir, and keep going. Okay, I'll take responsibility that
I got places to go.
like, so I'm jogging.
The worst cadet ever.
I was
Sir, I got places to be.
I gotta go. And so I slow down, but I do not stop. And then he's like, "Hey, cadet," or whatever. I was like, he's like, "Next time I need you to full stop, otherwise I'm gonna have you punch out 20 push-ups." I was like, "Roger that." And I just kept running back to my class. But it was a really good, I actually think it's potentially was really eye-opening for me because and anybody with kids, you guys can relate to this, is if you push too hard, if you make something a punishment, people are eventually gonna become resentment of that thing. And fitness as a tool in the academy or in the military, it is a phenomenal tool. And like, again, there's nuance to what I'm about to say. But what's happening is we need to look at the data. In the 6-month academy, you have officers that get in phenomenal shape. When they leave, they have to have an exit PT test that they're all passing. So they're doing great. They're dropping weight, they're looking good, they're feeling good, all the things. But then what happens? They get out of the academy, they're in FTO, they're busy, and fitness drops off. And just like me, dude, I haven't shaved in whatever 3 days since the academy because I'm kind of like F you. Like in my head, I'm like, I want to do what I want to do, right? I'm not gonna shine my boots. But that mentality isn't useful when it comes to a tool like fitness. That's the key thing to keeping you, your family, your community safe. And so when it comes to the academies, I am asking the question, is it a are we treating it too much like a punishment and not a privilege? How can we talk about fitness, push-ups, and use it as a tool, but not make it a punishment? Because once these guys are out of the academy, I mean, imagine Gabe with Shay. If his entire life he did something wrong, you're having him do push-ups. Dude, when he gets out of your house, he's never doing push-ups again. I mean, hypothetically, right? And it's like, so what are we doing for law enforcement for longevity if um we're using it as a punishment? And so again, one takeaway from the academy would be, hey, morning PT sessions. Of course, we need to do that. Shared suffering, brother, shoulder to shoulder, of course. But maybe instead of it being the cadre or the TO who creates the workout and shows it, maybe it's the academy puts a different person responsible each day for the workout and they run it. Like just doing it in different ways where instead of it feeling so much like a punishment, we treat it like this is a privilege and a part of the job. Is just something that's on my mind.
Yeah, and I completely get what you're saying, and I feel like I've heard whether it's in like even with guys that I've talked to, I feel like this has come up of like something where like if they have been in law enforcement or are in law enforcement, like last thing you want to do is the things that you always do in law enforcement. You don't want to do push-ups, you don't want to do that stuff. I get that. I think that one side of it though, and this comes to like, you know, just how there are so many infinite versions of fitness. I think it's like finding then something that isn't what was, maybe used as a consequence and just acknowledging the fact that movement, strength is important and you should enjoy your training. So
Right.
if for whatever reason you don't like burpees or you don't like push-ups, like this is where, I always fall back on the idea that in the CrossFit space, sometimes we have such a like myopic view of like what fitness is supposed to be. And at the end of the day, like even the way that I train and the way that I train my guys now, like if you want to call it hybrid training, whatever, if you enjoy that, great. If what you're doing doesn't work, I suggest trying this, but I'm not saying that everyone needs to, lift 3 days a week and run 3 days a week. Like if you just absolutely hate running, I think there are some benefits to running, but like do what you're going to enjoy doing because that's what's going to make it sustainable and something you want to do. So I think that there's that side of it. I do think that the discipline, fitness as discipline is a really interesting conversation, especially when it comes to kids. I've seen there's a couple of videos that have come out recently. I think there was recently a video of, I think it was a football player who posted a video where he was, maybe Liz can find it and pull it up. I think it was a football player posted a video of him like making his kid run and the kid was crying
Mm.
and he was like running outside the house and whatever. And I don't know what the discipline was for, but that's interesting, right? Because like now what association are you building to running, and dude, listen,
It goes back. Yeah.
disciplining your kids is like one of the hardest things to figure out as a dad. Like, dude, it is, I still think that like I get it wrong every single time, to be honest. Like, I don't know what's right, what's too much, what's not. And like, I think it's one of those things that you just continue to try your best and figure it out. But yeah, man, it's such a slippery slope and a thin line between like, there have to be rules and consequences, but what do you use as the consequence that isn't like either going too far or like, like you said, creating some sort of resistance against whatever that is?
Yeah.
So I don't have an answer, but I do think it's an interesting conversation.
Well, and then you think about like the kid who's running. Again, we don't know the context, but it's like maybe that's what that kid needed based on that dad. Let's see.
Oh, look, here it
Oh,
is. Yeah. NFL star Brandon Marshall at 2 a.m. Ooh.
ooh.
Um,
And the kid is like, for those of you who aren't watching this on video, kind of like fast walking. Now he's
y-
jogging.
yeah. And he says, if you don't start running, we're going to go 3 miles. You don't listen, we run 2 in the morning.
And dude,
And again, you don't have context in this clip. And like, that's always like, but I don't know. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I mean, that's better than, spanking. Like, I don't know. I mean, maybe some people might argue the other way, but I think, especially when it comes to parenting, it's very nuanced, and you need to figure out what is going to get your child to start, going in the appropriate direction, right? Like if they're continuously back talking or they're being rude to whatever, like you have to find something to discipline. Like, with Caden, for example, and this is another slippery slope. Like, dude, I don't like it. Is like the only thing he deeply, deeply cares about is baseball. So if we threaten to take that away or take that away, he makes a change. But then it's like, dude, now I'm like kind of taking away something like he loves. Like, oh, that's kind of rough too. Like, so I don't have the right answer. But what I do know, what I'm talking about with that? Like,
Yeah, but I don't know. That to me has always made sense. Like, and I understand like taking away something that he loves, but again, it's something that he cares. And I think that like clearly it seems to work. Because the example that comes to mind when you say that is like, if you don't run out the ground ball, you get benched, regardless of, how that's going to impact the team. And that's the same kind of version. Like, kid wants to play, like you sit on the bench if you didn't do the thing that you're supposed to be doing, right? Like
yeah,
that to me has always made sense because I don't know, it seems like a pretty, I don't know if harmless is the right word, but like, harmless in that like, it's a very clear consequence rule. So I don't know. I like that, but yeah, I mean, it's so tough, man. Like one of the hardest things about parenting, because again, you never want to do anything that like makes your kid upset. But at the end of the day, if you don't, like, dude,
it starts to
you're
compound.
gonna be in for a rough go.
Bro, 100%. By the way, we're deep in all stars right now. Uh, Caden, we've had today is game 3, and so their team won 10-1, 10-1, and he had a nice home run last game. I know you'd appreciate that, but so, but dude, back to the push up thing. I think that's been a one eye opening experience right through the academy. Is like, okay, I'm not anti what's happening because the thing about fitness is it's an immediate reaction, right? So if you were to tell this cadet, me or recruit, hey, go home and write a memo. Well, dude, is that guy going to know who I am? He doesn't even know my name. He doesn't know anything. He doesn't know what other workload I have. Like instead, it's like it's an immediate thing. He sees you, especially if there's like 500 recruits. It's like it's very clear. Like that guy messed up. Go do some squats. Move on. Like instead of like, oh, now I need to track down his name. I need you to, so it just got me thinking about academies and moving forward, how I can contribute in terms of the way we look at fitness as something we need to do for the rest of our lives. And is there small touches we can make at the academy that might pivot that? That's all.
Yeah. The more I think about it too, the more I also think that like fitness is just such an incredible way to like administer adversity and like administer just like, like hard stuff. And like
Yeah.
that's what these academies need to be. They need to be incredibly hard, incredibly demanding. Like they need to push you to your extreme. And like, how do you do that without physical discomfort that isn't, potentially even worse? Like, what are you going to do? Like, like psychologically make things difficult? Like, it's all the other stuff is so like weird, abstract, and not black and white. Like at the end of the day, push-ups suck. Holding a wall sit sucks. Burpees suck to an extent, right? Like once you're
Yeah.
doing a whole bunch, it's a very simple way to like, hey, you messed up. Now you're not going to feel comfortable or good for, a certain amount of time.
It's the easiest, by far the easiest tool. Like it's an immediate reaction, right? But like I was saying, like I don't know what impact that has on the long term. And I think if you get a guy like you and you're going through the academy and the instructor's like, hey, you got to do PT every day. I'm going to have you do push-ups. You're like, okay, all good, whatever. If you take someone who's super out of shape, like, so where I think we're doing a disservice, if the people that are like kind of like they want to be in shape, they go through the academy to get in the best shape of their life, but then it's so aggressive and so whatever that they never want to touch it again. There's like this percent of people like, that are like, maybe we could have got them, maybe, but instead we lose them. And uh, so that's a much more elaborate conversation I'm going to deep dive with the Santa Clara sheriffs as I'm starting to work with them more is that particular subject.
I guess the counter argument to that would be like,
Yeah.
I mean, isn't the point then to lose them? Like if that's really the thing that like,
Well, I don't mean
but
we lose them in the academy. I mean we lose them once they're on. So the biggest
oh,
problem I
like
see
like
is
like
like
lose them to like not prioritizing fitness and they're on the force and now they're not valuing it because I see. Yeah, that's a
exactly
problem.
because think about this, Gabe. So in general, most law enforcement agencies across the country, they finish their academy. they go into FTO, they take a PT test, then they go into FTO. They're never tested again on their fitness ever again. They're qual with the firearm twice a year, and they maybe do some basic combatives every couple
But
years.
isn't just that the issue? Like,
Oh, of course.
is the solution as simple as like these guys should be tested quarterly? Period. Like,
Dude, or at minimum, once a year. Hey, when you get hired on, you
not
can't
even once a year, dude. I mean, even that. Like, I understand that it would be a step that's better than never testing at all. But like, you being physically fit is like, I don't know, what top 3 most important trait you need to be. I mean, arguably the most important. I get that you need to like, you need to know the laws, you need to know policy, you need to like know how to handle a firearm. Like, I can see those being like, you know, you need to have like communication skills and be able to like down escalate. But like, to your point, you know, if you're huffing and puffing, you can't do any of those things. You can't think clearly. You can't remember what like the law, the statute, whatever. It's arguably at the basis. If it's that important, if we can all agree that it's that important, like, why shouldn't it be quarterly, monthly, something that you need to like, because you know this more than anyone. The average guy, if I know I have to test yearly, guess what?
Yeah.
They're not going to care about it until they're 12 weeks out, and then they're going to freak out and try and like cram and like, you know, get the minimum to pass the test. It needs to be a regular thing. Like, I think that you bring up a lot of good points in the motivation and like making sure that like, you know, we don't build resentment towards this thing that you have to do. But to me, it just seems like such a black and white, like this matters so much for your job. Like, absolutely it should be tested and tested regularly. And I don't know if the reason not is resources or
No, it's
whatever,
like the
but
union.
like,
It's just it's became this giant conglomerate, and there needs to be some disruption that occurs. And so I'm really excited on this podcast to showcase and share with you guys some of the ideas that we have in the future. And I'm really excited that Santa Clara Sheriff's Department is open-minded into some of these ideas that we want to bring forward. Like at a minimum, Gabe, at a minimum, I think that if you pass the PT test to get out of the academy, you should have an option to take that once a year. I'm talking minimum and get paid some type of fitness stipend for doing so at a minimum. Like, hey, if you pass the fitness test once a year, you get a $2,000 fitness stipend to be used on shoes or whatever you want to go do, right? At least that's a step forward in encouraging, because I think that if someone comes out of the academy and at least moderately maintain it, more than likely 10 years down the line, they'll probably continue to keep going with it. But again, that's a hypothesis. I think that it was a learning lesson for sure, but I want to talk to you about something. This one, um, this like really was eye opening for me. So I go through the entire academy, and probably the hardest part was like Caden. Caden's used to me like being home, and even if I'm working, like just being available. And right now it's summertime, so he's been kind of like, I've been sending him workouts to do, and like it's been hard, dude. It's been hard. It's been a big adjustment, right? So I feel bad. And then Ashley, like, dude, she's having to step up in all these different areas. I haven't been able to go to certain events. Like I didn't go to the World Cup. I had other opportunities I didn't go to because I'm in this academy. I'm building this up for a reason, by the way. So I made all these sacrifices, right, wrong, or indifferent. I chose to do this. So nobody made me do this. I'm not trying to play the victim. I'm just sharing with you that there's a lot of weight that I put on myself at this academy because I made so many sacrifices, and so did my family. So it gets to the final week at the academy, and we have 5 finals. Okay. Final number 1 is a shooting final. All good. Easy. No problem. Number 2, arrest and control tactics. You have to show how you can arrest somebody, detention, arrest, put handcuffs on, a few different like quick locks. All good. You have to demonstrate that you can drive a car. Okay. Got it. And then you have to do a first aid test, which was 40 questions. And I did well on that. And that was more like, hey, if somebody's bleeding doing this, how do you react? And you just multiple choice, right? All through
mhm.
the state. So I got 4 to the 5 down. Okay. So then it gets interesting. And I'm going to share this. It's a little bit embarrassing. I'm not going to lie, but I'm going to share it anyways. So we have our final exam on Tuesday. So today is, you and I are recording on Friday. So
Mhm.
I had my final exam for the academy was 3 days ago, whatever it was. I prepared a lot, Gabe. Like dude, legit, bro. I went through the entire study guide. I went through all the LDs. They call them like learning modules, yeah, um, learning learning domains. And I went through all of them. I studied about arrest and control, search and seizure, use of force. Like that was what the test was on, like mainly like real cop stuff, right? So I show up for the test, and this is administered by the state of California. So the way it works is like it's very formal. So you have to take everything out of your
Yeah, yeah,
bag. You know the full. You know the drill. Like you're back
yeah.
to college. So the test was 100 questions, and I was expecting to answer questions that were like, "Hey, what's required for detention? It's reasonable suspicion. What's required for an arrest? Probable cause." Like I'm thinking through it that lens, right? So we get there, and the first question is like, "Hey, it's 2 a.m. You see a car parked in the middle of the freeway. You pull over, and all situational, dude. I'm bro. Next question, like two ladies are fighting over a dress in the middle of a store, and one's bleeding. You put them both in handcuffs. The next one's like, hey, some gang members are shooting at each other. Like, so each one of these was all situational. Each situation had like 7 to 8 questions attached to it. So if you didn't quite understand one part of it, you're kind of screwed. So like one of them, for example, was like, it doesn't matter what it was. But long story short, I got out of 100 questions, I had to get 80 right. Okay. Well, how many do you think I got right?
Well, I'm assuming you passed, but barely. Did you get 80? What'd you get?
79.
Oh no.
Dude, bro, I
And
had
is it one of those where you finish, you go, you submit it, and you get your result in real time?
basically, so like the way it
Yeah.
worked is it was a 3 hour test, right? None of us took that long. When the last person is done, you submit the results. Then the proctor goes into his room and he prints out everything and then he hands them out to you. But it's pretty
Got
much
it.
immediate, right?
Got it.
So, dude, I get a 79 out of 100. I am, I'm, as the kids would say, crashing out, dude. Like I'm free. Like I'm just frustrated. And
I can see it. I
the
can
part
see it.
that most frustrating is like I really prepared for it. It's just the questions were very much so like as a law enforcement officer, and that's not my experience. I was just kind of looking at it like black and white, like the Fourth Amendment versus like how to actually apply some of these things. And so, dude, I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh my gosh. And, I should have detached better a little bit, right? But like, I went up to the coordinator, I was like, dude, I got blah, blah, blah. All these thoughts started running through my mind. Like, dude, I just spent the last month, I did this, I did that. Like, oh my gosh. Like, so the rule is you could remediate. So and you have one more chance at the test, one more. And if you fail, the entire month is overcome by events. You are 100% out. Like it's just, you're done. I'd have to redo the whole thing if it even ever came up again. So, dude, the pressure was immense, man. Like, I can't describe to you how I felt. Like in my life, it was like top 5 most pressure moments ever, right? Um, the greatest one being like when
Did you
Abe was
retest the same day?
so good point. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, really, dude, I went and I had like a brisk iced tea. I tried to get some sugar because I felt like my emotions like really like picking up, right? And I wasn't expecting to be there all day because, dude, I thought I was just gonna test, like, pop open a little beer. Like I didn't know. So I didn't bring any lunch. I didn't bring anything with me. So, anyways, I go get an iced tea and I try and like chill myself out. I'm like, all right, I don't want to have any regrets here. The next day, I was leaving for Virginia, which I just got back from,
Yeah.
and so do I want to go to Virginia and not know? And then the family is traveling for 4th of July. Do I want to be on like with my family? I was like, dude, no, I'm gonna be thinking the entire time about this test. And it's fresh in my mind. So, anyways, I spent the next couple hours like working with guys and reframing, looking at it through a law enforcement officer's lens and not as like just like a civilian. And I retook the test and I got 96%. And so I passed. But dude, I gotta tell you, Gabe, like that was a tough one, man. And I learned a
So
valuable lesson. Like I should have
what
detached a little bit more. Yeah.
what changed so much from the first time to the second time that was so helpful?
Well,
Or
I'll give you a
or
great
was it
example.
just the advantage of like now you knew what was coming?
It was a little bit of like now I knew what the test looked like, so I was more prepared. It was a different test, but similar
Sure,
idea.
sure, sure,
Like
sure.
I'll give you an example. Hey, you're an officer. You show up to a department store. 2 women are uh, like looked like they had just fought. A dress is ripped, and one of them is bleeding. You decide to put both of them in handcuffs, and blah 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 blah. Was the use of force necessary? Right? Like, and I'm thinking to myself, two ladies in a department store. Like, why do you need to put them in handcuffs? Like, that seems like unnecessary. The first time around. Second time around, it's like, okay, well, you want to have like scene safety, and you could put somebody in handcuffs. It's not a big deal, and separate these two people that clearly were fighting, and it's just you. So like the use of force was fine. I had just been looking at it as like, oh yeah, dude, like that guy's fine. Instead of like, hey, what should he be doing for his safety and the scene safety? So I just started looking at these questions in a different lens, and that's what helped me get the 96%.
What was the lesson? What was the takeaway that you were gonna share?
The takeaway was like when it immediately happened, it was so hard because I knew in the moment I was frazzled. Like I knew, like I was deeply frazzled, but I should have just walked outside. I should have just separated. Instead, like the coordinator was there, and I was like, I wasn't like yelling or whatever. Like I was just like, oh man, like I was flustered. I should have just walked outside. I should have given myself some space. I should have detached more, and then came back in and talked in a more calm manner. And so after I passed the test, I gave the guy a big hug. I was like, hey man, I'm sorry for kind of being a little hot earlier. Like I wasn't crazy, crazy, but I could have reacted in a more appropriate manner. I was just so frustrated, Gabe, because I couldn't help but just think like, dude, was the last month of my life just for nothing? And it was a good learning experience for me. I would actually say out of the entire academy, that was my biggest learning experience, was actually going through that final adversity. And it was nice. Like my family found out that I had failed because I texted Ashley. She was on her way to the store to go get like a congratulations like bow. She turned around. So, and Ava sent me like a really cute like prayer to read before you do it, and like it was cool. Like the support from the family was meaningful. And then obviously after I passed, Ashley went to the store and got some like congratulations or whatever. But that was my biggest takeaway, was like, hey, in these moments of adversity where you build them up so much, it doesn't matter, man. You gotta act rationally. You need to separate yourself from the situation so you could come in a calm mind. And I'm grateful that the coordinator, he kind of like, he was cool about it, but he's like, hey man, you need to take a moment. You need to go sit through the rest of this class. Cause I had another class after that I had to sit through. He's like, you need to sit through this class, and let's connect after. Just, you're gonna be fine. And like he did a good job of like realizing like I was being reactive, but that was my biggest takeaway, is like in those moments in life where you work super hard for something, or you feel this emotion coming up in your body, like what I'm talking about. You're starting to feel like shit, I'm getting too amped up. You gotta go separate and then come back into it.
Yeah, man. Yeah. It's a good learning lesson, dude. And then I think it's a good experience. Obviously, you took a lot away from it. One thing that I was thinking about while you were sharing like the month and, being away from Caden and not being able to do all these things, and I know that you share this sentiment too, but I think that like it really puts into perspective like how grateful we are for, dude, like I work really hard. I mean, now probably more than ever. Like it's long hours and, there's a lot of pressure, but a stone's throw from our living room. And, I can take a quick little break to go in and help out with the kids, and I get to see them all the time. And they come in here. And for a lot of people, it's early mornings, long commute, long day, long commute back, and do it all over again. And, it's feel very grateful that that's kind of the setup that I have. And I know that for a lot of people, like your month is what it is. Like that's literally what it is. And not everyone is as fortunate. And I know that, you've put yourself in a position to be there, and I've tried to as well. But some of that stuff isn't in everyone's control. And so just being grateful, I think, is important, man, because dude, being this close and being this much access to the kids and all that stuff, even though, it's not that we don't work hard, it's that, we have a different setup, is something that, oh man, especially now with like baby 3 coming, like I know people obviously do it, but I can't imagine.
Dude. Yeah, I mean, to your point, like Cameron said the same thing to me. He's like, my brother-in-law. He's like, bro, imagine if you like had like a regular job. And he's like, Caden got like a small glimpse of what that's like. I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just so abnormal for him. And you can make the argument, well, hey, the kids adjust to it because they're used to a different schedule and like whatever, which is fine, right? But our family isn't. Our family's used to a different schedule, and that has pros and cons, right? Like I get back at 2 a.m. yesterday from Virginia, but I'm also here all day today. So,
Mhm.
dude, the overall. I mean, we should continue. We could talk about the academy more, but I think that I'm excited to see what doors and opportunities present themselves now that I've gone through that and I can get on as a reserve because I know that I feel deeply called to this. Like I feel deeply called to the Train Hard Men's Club. I want to open up more clubs. I want to grow that. And I also feel deeply called to like supporting this group of people because I don't see a world where you can't. Like that's the thing. Like, you know, I just I don't know. I don't see a world forward where things go in a good direction if we don't invest more and train more in our law enforcement. Like I
Yeah.
just don't see an option because things could change as we know it if we don't have that pillar of the community, dude, it would be complete chaos. And so the only option is to have that pillar, but they need to train more and they need to be better. Just like and we should all strive to be that way, but that's why I want to help.
Love it, man. Love it.
Well, dude, I got a Train Hard Men's Club captain's call, but I do appreciate you. I hit up Gabe. I was like, bro, I want to talk about the academy, but I don't want to just like riff on it myself for like 15 minutes. You want to jump on and riff on it with me? And he took the time to do so. And so make sure to go check out. Make sure to go check out all the amazing things that my boy Gabe Yanez is doing. And Liz, well, where's the best place to go, Gabe? Because I know some people they
Just
don't actually go to the
Instagram.
podcast with us. Instagram.
Yeah, just underscore Gabe Yanez on Instagram. Everything's on there. Especially if you're thinking about, I have so many guys now that are training for half Ironmans and marathons and really cool communities. So I have the first race coming up where I have 3 guys doing the same race. So I'm literally going to New York, going to be there in person and, watch them race and provide some support. So yeah, man, it's been a lot of fun.
That's super cool, dude. I love that. So yeah, make sure if you're interested in that, go see our boy underscore Gabe Yanez, Yanez.
Right.
And then for those of you also starting July 13th, and Gabe, I will give credit where credit is due. Gabe laid the framework for this idea.
I messaged you immediately.
Over a year ago, he laid this framework. Is we have the shoulder to shoulder challenge starting up again. And as part of that is run, walk, ruck, get outdoors for a mile a day. And our boy Gabe had recommended that a while ago. And I like that better for this particular challenge than the 45 burpees a day because I thought it just served itself well in terms of just like getting the family together after dinner and going for a walk or kicking off your day with just like I don't know, a little podcast and going for a walk by yourself or on a call and doing a walk. So the July 13th, our challenge starts up and you're going to love it. So make sure to check out the podcast show notes about that. And if you have specific interests, especially in racing, go find our boy Gabe Yanez to help you out.
Love it, man. Love it. I'm excited for you guys running the challenge again. It's always cool to see everyone doing it. And I'm sure a bunch of people are going to be sharing how they're doing their mile with the family. Like it's always cool to see people get the family involved. So yeah, dude, super excited.
Dude, next episode, I got to talk to you about the Father's Day event because I know you and I talked about that and it went really well. So
yeah. I saw the pictures. A huge turnout.
Yeah, it was cool.
That's fun, man. That's fun.
Well, brother, I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Heck yeah.
Thank you to everybody for listening. Stay tuned for more episodes. I believe we have 4 episodes coming up with our boy, Gabe Yanez. So stay tuned for that. Talk to you guys soon.